Okay. So, what we have been discussing so far is that how we are going for deploying the KM system. So, one thing that we have noticed is that we need to create a prototype and then start it deploying at one part or unit of the system and see whether it benefits and then extend it to the other part. That is what is known as incremental approach. In contrast to incremental approach, we have another approach that is known as big bang approach. That is where you are going to implement the KM system in the entire organization at one go, and both of them have their own associated costs and benefits, right. Now, what we are going to discuss in detail is the result driven incremental methodologies. So, we have to see whether incremental methodology is good or the big bang approach is good. Now, if you look at incremental methodology, it is result driven. Result driven means that success of one part leads to implementation or deployment of the KM system to other part of the organization. So, what actually happens in this result driven incremental methodology, and that is commonly known as RDI methodology, is that a KM project is broken into smaller projects, small projects. So, each KM project may be having a number of modules depending upon the requirement. Okay. So, these modules are basically series of short fast paced development cycles. So, you take up one cycle, if you feel successful, then you move to the next cycle, right. So, what you do, you try to implement into one part of the system, and then based on success, okay, and see that whether it is going to deliver benefits to the organization, then you move to the next part of the system. Okay. The benefit of this kind of approach is that you can really see and recognize and notice the benefits that you are going to derive out of the KM system, which is being implemented in one part of the organization. And if you are going to compare it with a big bang approach, the problem is that when you are going to implement it at the organization level, the enterprise level, then probably you will not be able to see that the benefits are coming from where and the costs is associated with which one, okay, which part is successful, which part is not successful, because it is not it is giving you an integrated result. So, integrated result you are not able to find out which part is functioning well, which part or which unit or department is able to make use of that system to be effective and productive, and which part or unit of the system is not able to make use of the system. Okay. So, if you are going for a integrated measure, then it is not good, and that is why it is always better to go for a RDI incremental approach. That is where you are able to realize the benefits of a KM system deployment in one part as a pilot project, look at the benefits, and then you move on and implement it to the other part of the system. Okay. And that is why result driven incremental methodology is always better. Look at this, see what happens. In big bang approach, what we did, we try to apply it and all the targets together. Now, this is target 1. Okay. What we did, we applied it, got successful, implemented it to the other part in the time frame, looked into the benefits has gone up, we try to implement it to the other part of the system, the benefits increased, then we move to the third part, then accordingly we can move to target D and other words, right. So, each stage of the RDI is really actually you can see the kind of benefits that you are going to derive, and after completion of each stage you can move up to the next stage. But provided if you implement it to the entire organization, okay, and then you are not sure which part is giving benefit, which part is not giving benefits, and at this stage if you find that there are certain issues that need to be resolved, then you do not move to the next stage unless these issues are resolved at this stage. Okay. So, these are the benefits of moving at incremental approach, okay, so that you are able to see whether you are getting benefits at this stage, and then you extend it to the next part, and then you to the next part. While you are extending it in a time frame, in a fixed time frame, you can also see the benefits moving up in the direction, right. And that is why it is always good to adopt for a RDI methodology, right. Then what is the steps that is involved in this kind of methodology? Okay. These are the 5 different approaches that need to be followed, that is objective driven decision support, incremental but independent results. You also need to see that software organizational measures are clearly laid out at each stage, there is intensive implementation schedule at each stage, results driven follow ups, right. Now, if you look at this figure, what I am talking about is, and look at the characteristics, objective driven decision support. It means at this stage what happens, you have certain objectives in terms of the kind of benefits that you are going to get, you have implemented the system, and then you are going to see whether you are going to achieve it or not, right. Similarly, though it is incremental, but you are looking for independent results. Look at this, it is independent, one particular unit or department or function is being affected, though it is interconnected, but it is not implemented in other parts at one time. So, you can see though it is independent, but though it is integrated, but it is independent. So, the benefits has to be measured over here, and if it is beneficial and you find that it is working well, then you try to integrate and extend it to the other part. Similarly, you also need to see that yes, what are the requirements in terms of softwares and how are we going to measure the benefits, because the kind of benefits that is going to be there may be different compared to here. For example, if it is in R&D, so you are going to see the number of patents, number of the innovations in terms of products and processes that is made, but if it is extended to the production department, then you have to see whether these features have been incorporated in the products and services or not, right. So, the measures of benefits are going to vary at different places, right, and the kind of software support that is required. So, here in the production department you require a different kind of software support, here you are requiring a different kind of organizational software support, right. Then intensive implementation schedule, once you have implemented it, you experience successful, then you move to the next stage, and when it comes to integration, you see that all these the lessons that you have learned, the feedback that you got is incorporated here, and at the same time you have a fixed time schedule, because there could be time and cost overrun that is to be kept in mind. So, you have to see that within the fixed schedule you are able to see that it is completed, so that you are able to move to the next stage in a given time frame, because in order to develop or have a KM system for the organization at the enterprise level, for the entire project you have a fixed time. So, at this level you have to see that it is implemented at the entire organizational level, right. So, when I am talking about intensive implementation schedule, basically we are talking about that you need to see that the entire organization is going to get benefit and it is implemented across departments and units at the enterprise level within a given time frame, right. Then we have to see that results driven follow ups. So, you need to follow it up at each stage what is happening before moving to the next stage, right, and that is where you are going to see that how we are moving up in the process when you are going to implement this RDI methodology, right. Now, business releases. What are the business releases? So, business releases means what kind of benefits that you are going to derive out of it. Okay. So, at each and every stage you have to see that what is the targeted business results. Okay. Say for example, again I am coming to the same picture, target A, one particular department. So, you need to identify what kind of business results that you want to achieve, okay, and whether it is going to be quantitative or qualitative in nature. Okay. And you also need to see that how you are going to measure these business results. So, these are some of the issues that need to be looked into, okay, and what is the exact software functionalities required to achieve these results. So, you have to see that what kind of software support in terms of IT is required and how the results will be measured, right. Say for example, how are we going to measure the result that is to be achieved by the R&D section, how are we going to measure the results that is to be achieved by the production department at different time periods, and how are we going to measure the results that is to be achieved by the what you call the marketing department, right. So, the measures for these departments are going to vary depending upon the functionalities, right, and when complementary changes are needed in policies, incentives, metrics and procedures. Okay. So, complementary changes like how are we going to see, so you have been measuring the functionalities the changes and the metrics and the evaluations of the marketing department or production department or say R&D department in different way. So, what kind of changes you want to bring about, changes in the measures to evaluate the success of KM system at different time periods in various across departments, right, and how are we going to link it with the incentives. For example, if marketing departments have employed these KM system have been benefited, okay, with more sales, are you going to link it with incentives or not? Okay. because if you do not link it with incentives, the marketing people will think that it is not worth doing because it is not linked with the reward. So, any attempt that is made, it is not going to be successful unless you are going to link it with the reward system of the organization. Okay. So, you need to bring about certain change in the reward system, policies, the way it is to be evaluated, the way things to be done after the implementation of the KM systems. Okay. So, these are some of the issues that need to be looked into, and that is why you need to make complementary changes. Means these are changes that need to be made once the KM system is introduced. Okay. In terms of incentives, the way that is to be evaluated, the way things are being done by them, and how the processes the procedures that is followed by them in doing certain activities has to be changed, right. That is about the business releases. See, this is one example that is given here. So, it has a number, it has a date, when it is going to be completed, okay. Who is going to be responsible for that, what is the target business results, okay, and what the benefits that you want to achieve. Say you want to go for a ERP system, and then this is going to help you to slash the cost of the system. Okay. So, in that way you are going to see that when you are going for business releases, it means that in what way it is going to affect the business, or not only the business in terms of benefits, IT, how you are going to measure it, and what kind of changes you need to bring about in the system and processes of the organization, right. See, so what kind of software functionalities, metrics and success measure, policy changes, accessibility. So, how are we going to make certain changes, right. For example, a internet connected to Singapore office have to be connected with Malaysian office. So, you need virtual private networks. Okay. It should support both kind of Mac users as well as Windows users. So, this is the system requirement, okay, that we have been talking about. Now, metrics and success, how are we going to see the improvement in the speed of execution of their contracts. So, are there going to be lower cost per contracts, whether you are going to reduce travel expenses because Singapore and you have to travel from Singapore to Malaysia, and if it is connected well, then you are going to reduce a lot of cost in travel and all these kind of things. So, these are some of the benefits that you are going to measure out of it. Then what kind of policy changes you are going to make in the system. Okay. Then how are you going to have access to the system. Okay. So, what we have been talking about KM system development, those issues are very important, okay, that need to be looked into. Okay. And what other measures you want to add in terms of cost, quality, efficiency, productivity that you want to have. Okay. Now, what we are going to discuss ultimately is the traps in selecting the release sequence. Which one you want to, what kind of benefits you want to have first, which kind of benefits you want to have first, second. Okay. Now, these are some of the important benefits. See, expected success. When you are going to deploy a KM system, what kind of outcomes you want to achieve out of it, in the sense that whether the success is going to be in monetary terms or non-monetary terms. Okay. So, that is to be identified. Then what is the cumulative effect of different successes that you are going to have one by one. Then which system is going to create highest payoff, maximum payoff, or whether you are going to have a balance between the success and payoff, both qualitative and quantitative. So, these are some of the issues that need to be looked into. Okay. Now, other issues is process divisibility and RTI release. How are we going to look into both the technology part and the non-technology part. Okay. See, when you are going to implement the technology, in implementing the system to other part, so you have to see that what kind of softwares would be required, right. So, you need to identify the kind of technology that would be required in successive improvements, okay, whether you are going to use the same software or you are going for improved version of the softwares. Okay. So, that the technology deployment can also be broken into pieces, okay, and then you have to see that each is employed at different levels, and then you move from surface level to deepest level depending upon the requirement, right. So, and this methodology also provides and allows for refinement of the current stock of deployment, okay, what you have deployed, and process knowledge in ongoing releases. So, at each stage when you are moving from one department or one target to another target of implementing KM system, and if you have a feedback and loop system, it helps you to modify the system and you go for being better and better in terms of stocking or the process knowledge that is going to be stocked by you at different levels, and the kind of KM system that you are going to have, and ultimately when you go for a integrated enterprise level system, which it is going to be a much better system that you have earlier thought of. Now, beyond that, you have to see the role of tools and tasks. Okay, reinvention of tools, interfaces, tasks, right? What kind of what kind of aesthetic you are going to have, or the design of the KM system, how it is going to fit with the different kind of different kind of environment. Okay, and whether it is going to reinvent the job itself or not. For example, the way you have been doing certain things, whether the KM access and the information that you are going to have is going to change the way the job is being done. Okay. So, you have to see that the design of the KM system and the kind of interface that you have is going to really help you to see that the entire process of using KM system is transparent, so that each and everyone gets the benefit. Okay. Right. Then moving to the next part, the cross functional synergy. Right. This cross functional synergy is very, very important, because you are moving from one function to another function. Okay. So, the example that I had given, that you are moving from say R&D to production to marketing to HR to say finance. These are different functional domains, right, require different kind of expertise, knowledge base, right. So, you need to create synergy, so that the knowledge created in one department can be used by other department. Okay. Not only that synergy in the knowledge that is created between the departments is useful to all the departments, but also the issues of access is there. You also need to see that the requirement of each department is met. Okay. So, you need to create a better synergy between various departments, and how this synergy is to be created. You have different group of users, like the requirement of the HR department would be different compared to the marketing department. Okay. The requirement of the finance department would be different compared to the production department, right. So, how are you going to create this synergy? Because ultimately, see, you have to see that how far you have been able to coordinate and integrate the activities of various departments, vertically and horizontally both. So, you have been successful in integrating the activities, probably you create better synergy, and you have not been able to create vertical and horizontal integration and coordination across departments and functions, then it becomes very difficult for you to go for these kind of things, and that is why you need to create this cross functional synergy. Say for example, the HR department job is to provide manpower to different departments, right. So, the quality of innovations depends upon the quality of people, right, that is recruited by the HR department, right. So, the HR department has to create a synergy with the HR requirement and meet the requirement of the R&D department, right, not only R&D department, but any department, because it is the responsibility of the HR department to supply talented people across departments, right, who can do the job, right. So, they have to align their activities with different functional areas. Marketing department has to align their activities with the production department has to align their activities depending upon the kind of R&D that is happening in their organization. So, based on R&D innovations in terms of production and processes, that is to be incorporated by the production department. So, they have to align their activities based on the innovations that is made by the R&D department, right. Similarly, marketing department has to sell those. So, they have to align their activities based on what is being produced in terms of goods and services, and that is where you are going to create better synergy, right. So, when it comes to creating synergy across departments, you have to see that how knowledge management system is going to help in the process, right. So, knowledge management system is going to help in the process, so that you have a system which is going to allow different group of users, whether you belong to marketing, whether you belong to HR, whether you are going to belong to any other department, to produce results that is not only useful for you, but also to other departments. And okay. So, that production departments know that okay, what is being done by the R&D department, they have access to that information. HR departments know what kind of requirement is there in terms of people by the different departments. Marketing department knows what is being produced by the HR department, right. Sorry, the production department. So, you have to see that it is the KM system need to create a synergy which is going to allow different groups of users representing different functional departments to produce results exceeding those that they would produce working without the support of such a system, because you have access to information across verticals or departments which could be useful, and that would add knowledge to your work, and that is how we are going to be creating more synergy in the process, right. This is what we call the cross functional synergy that is to be created. Now, in terms of collaborating across departments, you have to see that how this KM system that is going to be designed helps you in collaborating, because collaboration is something that is very, very complex in nature, because you need to collaborate at different levels, you need to collaborate across departments, across units, across people, okay, within departments. So, the level of this collaboration becomes more and more complex, okay, depending upon the number of departments you have, okay, number of units that you have. Okay. So, this level of complexity has to be figured into the design of the KM system, that how the KM system is going to take care of this kind of these complexities, and how it is going to allow access in a complex environment, right. So, some of the complexities like logistical complexities, so how they would be connected. So, what kind of software requirement would be there, what kind of say support system in terms of IT, internet and other things are going to be there, how they would be connected, what kind of access they will how they will have access to the information, right. So, these logistics need to be taken care through the IT system. Then technological complexity, what kind of software and hardware integration would be required for this kind of purpose. Then organizational complexity in terms of systems, processes, okay, procedures that is to be followed across departments, and how they are going to integrate this. And then environmental complexity that how the kind of environment in which you are operating, how complex it is, and whether you are able to scan and get the information from the environment to make use of it when it comes to organizational advantage, right. Otherwise, whatever you are going to do in the name of knowledge management, it does not benefit you, because you do not get any advantage or you are not able to compete with others. So, this environmental complexity helps you to scan the environment, find out what needs to be done to cope up with the challenges of the environment depending upon the complexity in the environment, how uncertain or certain the environment is, and then based on that you are going to see whether you are going to be successful or not, right. So, this is about the complexity of the collaboration. Okay. So, various level of complexity need to be looked into when you are going to design KM system, so that the problem related to logistics, technology, systems and processes and the environment is taken care. If you are not able to take care of these problems, probably the KM system will not provide you better synergy, okay, and the kind of collaboration that you can expect across department functions and units is not going to be there. Then another problem is the over engineering. I mean, do not depend too much on the technology, okay, or act of implementing system functions that may never be used, or adding details that are unnecessary for deriving the desired business results. It means that you make sure that your system is such so that it does have only relevant things. Okay. You do not make a system so complex, or you do not add so many things in the system which is not going to be used by the people, okay, and because it is not related to or not linked to the desired business results. Okay. As you can see that what basically happens, that managers want to implement the system, but they do not want to make use of that system, right. Many cases, for example, we get systems, but we rarely use it. Okay. We get softwares, hardwares, we think that okay, it is going to be useful, but once we use it, but after that it is not useful, we find that it is not used. Okay. So, what we need to look at it, that whatever system we are going to have, it is useful, it is relevant for the people who are going to make use of it, okay, and that is the responsibility of the managers. Otherwise, what will happen? You have so many things at your disposal, but you are not going to make use of it, and if you are not going to make use of it, it is not you are not going to derive any kind of business results out of it, right. So, what you need to look at is that both the structured methodology and incremental methodologies should be treated as non-complementary, if they are not complementary. What I mean to say here is that when you are going to use incremental approach, the idea is very simple. In an incremental approach, what happens? You try to deploy a KM system in one part of the organization, look at the benefits of that system, how well it is used, what are the business results that is derived, the kind of technologies, support system and resources are available within a given time frame, and you find that it is successful, then you extend it to other parts of the system. You go through the same process and I analyze, design, develop, and then you deploy it to the next part of the system. Once you are sure of the success, you look at the tangible, intangible benefits of the system deployment at the next stage, then you move to the third stage, and that is how you move up, and then you have a integrated enterprise level system. Now, compared to incremental system, if you are going to have a big bang or a structured system where you are going to have the entire system at one go, okay, it is entirely different, because the cost, benefits and other things that is associated with that big bang approach is different compared to the incremental system. Now, what we have looked is here is that what kind of system is more feasible. Okay. Now, if you look at the literature, it suggests that, or the surveys that have been done, that it is always better to go for incremental approach, because success at one point of time helps you to move to the next stage. But suppose if you are adopting it to the entire organization, then probably there are certain issues, if it is not resolved, related to cost benefits, time and cost tolerance. Since it is an integrated system, you never know which part is successfully using the CAM system, which part is not using at all, and if you have so many things at the same time, then probably you are confused. Okay. So, these are the issues which comes out, and that is why it is not complementary. You cannot say that okay, once you go for incremental approach, you have enterprise integrated system, it is becoming a very structured system. No, it is not, because you have tried and tested at each stage and then went for a enterprise level system. Okay. Now, the only disadvantage is that in incremental system what happens, the benefits are perceived as marginal, because you are looking at only one aspect. So, you know that okay, this part you have used the CAM system or deployed it, and then it has been used and you have found that yes, it is successful. Okay. And based on the results, if you think that okay, it is worth going for it, then you move to the next stage. If you think that it is not worth the effort, then you do not move ahead. Okay. So, that is one of the disadvantages which you may have, depending upon the kind of project that you have selected, okay, and the kind of department for you have selected. So, it is very, very important that when you are selecting particular department or unit for the pilot project, you follow certain criteria and make sure that it is successful, so that you can move to the next stage. Then another important issue is related to the communication. Okay. When you are going to introduce and integrate the CAM system in an incremental approach from one department to another department, okay, tell what are the expectations that you have from the department after implementing the CAM system, what are the results that you are looking forward to first. Second, how this system is going to be integrated with the next set of system, right, because ultimately you have different business processes which need to be integrated, okay, and each business process is also interconnected with each other, right. So, you cannot simply isolate a particular system. Okay. So, you are going to implement it isolation in one part, but at the same time based on the benefits you are going to integrate it with other part. Okay. So, you need to clearly communicate why you want to implement the CAM system, what are the expected benefits, what kind of results you want to achieve from the system, why you want to implement it. So, the people, the stakeholders of that particular unit must know what are the benefits that they are going to drive, how they are going to make use of it, what are the things that they need to do is. Okay. And then once you communicate it with, then probably the users and the stakeholders find it very, very easy, and they would go for adopting it. Okay. And they would accept a culture where it becomes a normal process, a normal part of their work life. Okay. Because you know that innovation is a part of life, and so they know that they need to continuously improve and innovate the systems and processes. If this kind of culture is developed in the organization, then it is very, very easy, and that is what need to be communicated very clearly, that okay, we need to upgrade our systems and processes, and that is how CAM system is going to help in the process for us to be more effective and beneficial in the long run. And then we also need to look at certain human barriers, that is very, very important. What are the human barriers? See, the barriers may be related to because the culture, the attitude and behavior of the employees, right. So, you also need to develop a system where you provide the leadership support, resource, and also link such behaviors with incentives, right. So, make sure that the technology that is designed for improving the systems and processes for better results is linked with the incentives. So, the incentives are complementary to achieving the results. You can make it contingent, because if you feel that in a particular system KM is implemented, okay, and it has got certain beneficial results, then the stakeholders, the users are also benefited out of it, right, in terms of promotions, merit increase, whatever it is there has to be done, so that they get motivated to make use of the system on a regular basis, right. So, they need to be compensated not only in the short term, but also long term, so that whatever benefits are made by the organizations or the profit has to be shared. Okay. So, you need to create a reward structure, that is very, very important. Similarly, you also need to bring about a change in the culture and attitude of the people to accept new things, that is very, very important. Okay. And then I'll make sure that link the goals of the people with the goals of the organization. Okay. So, if organization is going to make profit, you are also going to be benefited, not only in the short term, but also in the long term, and that is how it is going to help both the people who are going to work and the KM system, out of which the individual as well as organization both are going to be benefited out of it. Okay. And one infinite loop is that, yes, since the KM system is dynamic, so you need to ensure that there is a continuous update and improvement in the system, okay, because the changes are going to happen in the business environment. So, the processes are also changing accordingly, and you are going to feed new data into the system, so that the KM system that you are going to develop is alive. It does not become dead, because otherwise it become obsolete and outdated, and people will start using it. Thank you.